long before Santa Claus became the cheerful, red-suited figure flying across the night sky with reindeer. His story began in a world that feels almost unrecognizable today, a world of harsh winters, deep religious devotion, political power struggles, and whispered legends passed quietly from one generation to the next. The true history of Santa is not a simple fairy tale, but a layered, sometimes unsettling blend of fact, myth, fear, generosity, and transformation that unfolded over more than 1,000 years. It begins not at the North Pole, but in the ancient Roman world, during the 4th century, when Christianity was still finding its place amid persecution, superstition, and imperial control. In this era lived a man named Nicholas, born in the coastal town of Patara, in what is now modern-day Turkey. He was born into wealth, but tragedy struck early when his parents died during an epidemic, leaving him an orphan with a large inheritance. Instead of living a life of comfort, Nicholas chose secrecy, humility, and charity, believing good deeds should never be performed for praise. One of the earliest stories tied to Nicholas is darker and more complex than the gentle tales told today. According to legend, a poor father, unable to provide dowries for his 3 daughters, was considering selling them into slavery or prostitution, a horrifying reality in the ancient world. Nicholas, learning of this, secretly threw bags of gold through the family's window at night, saving the daughters from their fate. In later retellings, the gold was said to have landed in stockings left to dry by the fire, a detail that would echo centuries later in modern Christmas traditions. Yet even in this act of kindness, secrecy was essential. Nicholas fled so the family would never know their benefactor, reinforcing the idea that true generosity exists best in shadow, not spotlight. Nicholas eventually became a bishop in the city of Myra, gaining a reputation not only for kindness but also for fierce conviction. Contrary to the soft-spoken Santa image, historical accounts and legends describe Nicholas as a man of strong temper and unyielding beliefs. One of the most shocking stories claims that during the Council of Nicaea, a crucial meeting that shaped Christian doctrine, Nicholas became so enraged by a theologian's views that he struck him across the face. While historians debate the truth of this event, the tale survived because it reflected how passionate and human Nicholas was. He was not a gentle caricature, but a deeply emotional man driven by faith, justice, and moral certainty. After his death, Nicholas did not fade quietly into history. Instead, his reputation grew, fueled by stories that became increasingly strange. Medieval legends claimed he resurrected murdered children, protected sailors from storms, and punished the wicked. In one particularly grim tale, 3 children were killed and pickled in brine by an innkeeper, only to be restored to life by Nicholas. This story, unsettling as it is, cemented him as a protector of children and a figure who stood against cruelty. Such legends spread rapidly across Europe, where literacy was rare and storytelling was the primary way history survived. Over time, Nicholas transformed from a real bishop into a supernatural guardian, feared and revered in equal measure. As centuries passed, the image of Nicholas changed depending on where the stories traveled. In parts of Europe, especially in Germany and the Netherlands, St. Nicholas became a central winter figure who judged children's behavior. He did not always come alone. Dark companions, such as Krampus or Knecht Ruprecht, often followed him, carrying whips or sacks to punish naughty children. This duality created a tradition rooted in fear as much as reward. Children were taught obedience not only through hope of gifts, but through terror of consequences. The season we now associate with warmth and joy once carried an undercurrent of anxiety and moral surveillance. When Dutch settlers brought their traditions to America in the 17th century, St. Nicholas arrived with them under a new name, Santa. However, the New World reshaped him dramatically. Early American society, especially among Puritans, rejected Christmas celebrations altogether, viewing them as pagan and disorderly. For a time, Santa-like traditions were suppressed. It wasn't until the 19th century, in a rapidly urbanizing America, hungry for shared cultural rituals, that Santa began to re-emerge in a softened form. Writers and artists played a crucial role in this transformation, stripping away the fear, the punishments, and the religious authority, replacing them with whimsy, domestic warmth, and child-centered magic. One of the most influential moments in Santa's evolution came with the 1823 poem, commonly known as The Night Before Christmas. This poem reimagined Santa as a jolly, plump elf who traveled in a sleigh pulled by reindeer, slipping down chimneys to deliver gifts. Gone was the stern bishop. In his place stood a playful figure who laughed, spoke little, and existed purely to delight. This version of Santa aligned perfectly with a changing society that increasingly idealized childhood, innocence, and family-centered holidays. The poem spread rapidly, shaping the collective imagination more powerfully than centuries of religious legend ever had. Visual artists further molded Santa's identity. In the late 1800s, illustrations depicted him as tall, bearded, and warmly dressed, often in red, though his outfit was not yet standardized. It wasn't until the 20th century, through widespread advertising and mass media, that Santa's modern appearance fully solidified. Contrary to popular belief, he was not invented by a single company, but corporate imagery did play a major role in cementing his look and personality. He became a symbol not only of generosity, but of consumption, a figure who bridged ancient charity with modern commercial culture. Yet beneath the cheerful surface, echoes of the older Santa remain. The idea that Santa sees all, knows all, and judges behavior is a direct descendant of St. Nicholas's role as a moral authority. The tradition of rewarding good children and withholding gifts from bad ones mirrors the medieval fear-based system, though now presented gently. Even the timing of Santa's visit, during the darkest part of the year, connects him to ancient winter figures meant to bring hope and light when survival itself once felt uncertain. The strangest truth about Santa may be how deeply human his story is. He is not a single invention, but a mirror reflecting society's values across time. In an age of hardship, he was a protector and judge. In times of faith, he was a saint and miracle worker. In the modern world, he became a symbol of joy, nostalgia, and generosity. Stripped of fear, but still rooted in moral storytelling. Every version of Santa tells us more about ourselves than about him. Today, Santa exists in a strange space between belief and tradition. Children are taught to believe, adults to pretend not to, yet everyone participates. This shared illusion binds generations together, much like the ancient legends once did around firelight. The true story of Santa is not about whether he is real in a physical sense, but about how stories evolve to meet emotional needs. From a fiery-tempered bishop in Turkey to a global icon of Christmas, Santa's journey reveals how history, myth, fear, love, and hope can merge into a single figure who refuses to fade. Perhaps that is why Santa endures. He carries with him the memory of secret kindness, the warning of moral consequence, and the promise that even in the coldest, darkest nights, someone is watching over us, ready to give, forgive, and remind us of our shared humanity. And in that sense, the strange, true story of Santa is still being written every winter, quietly, in acts of generosity that may never be seen, but are deeply felt.